Hello again, students, and welcome back to my flipped classroom. Today, our lesson will be plot. Now, plot is important because without it, there will be no story. So let's go ahead and get with the plot. So your first question is, it's I cans for the lesson. I can learn about plot. I can identify the components of plot as well as I can practice with plot. So, your first question is going to be, what is plot? Well, plot is the event or events in a story that actually make up that story. So, the question you want to ask yourself when you're looking for plot is, what happened in this story? One of the things that you may remember from middle school will be the Plaque Mountain. The Plaque Mountain works like this. There is the exposition of the story, the rising action, the climax, then the falling action, and the resolution. These are all of the components of plot. Well, you say, okay, what are those things? Well, exposition is the first part. It actually tells us who the characters are, when and where the story is set, as well as what the conflict, also called the problem, is. So, the question that you will have when you're looking for what is the exposition in the story's plot would be, who are the characters, when and where does the story take place, as well as what's the problem. Now, in the mountain, you are here down at the bottom. So you are walking towards the mountain. So, what's the next part? The next part of plot is the rising action. The rising action, or all of the events that happen before we get to the climax. The climax is known as the big event that changes everything in the story, okay? But the rising action, all the events that lead up to that. So the question that you need to ask yourself when you're looking for the rising action would be, what little events have helped build up to the big event? So you want to look for all those little events that build until you get to the big event. So on the mountain, you've already walked here. Now you're climbing the mountain, okay? Which oftentimes is the longest and the hardest part. The rising action is going to be one of the longest parts that you have in the story. The next part is the climax. The climax is that big event that really changes the things in the story. It's gonna change a lot of things, okay? So the question you want to ask yourself, and it will be hard to find the climax, so you need to ask yourself, what events changed everything? When was I the most interested in what is going to happen next? The climax is going to be the part where you as the reader are the most interested, the most involved. Now, on the mountain, you've already walked, you've already done this training, climbing. This is your mountain top. From here, you can see everything, okay? The next part is the falling action. The falling action, or the events that happen after the climax. There are usually not very many of them. You notice it's at the short downhill. It's a lot easier. It seems a lot more quick than actually climbing up. So the question you want to ask yourself to identify the falling action of the story will be, what happens after the big event that changes everything? What happens? There are, like I said, not so much because it's very short. And then the last thing of the mountain is the resolution. The resolution is when the conflict that will be the problem in the story either ends or it's solved. So that's wonderful. It's resolution. It's over here. It's at the end of the mountain. You're finished. You have done all the work to get up there. You've seen the amazing stuff. You've come back down and now you're finished. Okay, so the question that you want to ask yourself in order to find the resolution is, how does the story end? Now, that's all well and good, but you say, okay, Ms. Jablonski, I have all the concept and it's wonderful, but how can I practice it and make it into a concrete thing that I can use every day in class? Okay, no problem. We're going to use Disney's The Lion King in order to do that. That's the movie that most of you probably have seen it, and if you haven't, I suggest you do it because it's a wonderful one. So let's talk about The Lion King. In The Lion King, there is a good bit of exposition, and again, this is going to tell us who the characters are, what the problems are. Simba is born. Simba is the prince. We'll find that out. And then we'll find out that Mufasa shows Simba the kingdom. So we know that Simba is said to inherit all that. The rising action then starts. Simba goes to the elephant graveyard, then Scar kills Mufasa. Simba is banished. Simba meets Timon and Pumbaa. Simba grows up, he grows up, and then Simba goes back to take his home, his kingdom. The climax is when Simba fights the Scar. The falling action, Scar is banished and Simba becomes king. The resolution, they all live happily ever after with Simba being king. So that's it. That's how we do Plaque. So hopefully you're ready to come up to class and work with it there. I'll see you soon, and don't forget to study at home. Bye-bye.